We've seen solubility curves before, and keep in mind that all of these lines represent the maximum solubility at a given temperature. And since we've been talking about certain calculations involving concentrations and such, this is another one that is probably a good one to know about. So let me write down a particular question for you, and I'll show you how to solve it. The question we're going to ask is, what is the maximum amount of sodium nitrate that can dissolve in 250 mils of water at 60 degrees Celsius? It turns out that we're going to be able to use this solubility curve to answer the question. The problem is that if you look at the axis over here, you'll notice that every single one of these values that we're looking at is in terms of 100 grams of H2O. And we are being asked about a much different amount of water. Turns out that this is a pretty simple ratio problem that I'm going to show you how to solve. First of all, we have to recognize that we're at 60 degrees Celsius and that we have this sodium nitrate. So the first thing we have to do is find sodium nitrate, which is right there. And what we're going to do is find 60 degrees and find the intersection point here. Right about there. So we're going to call that thing, oh geez, what is it? We'll say 122 grams or something like that. And I'm a little bit off, but you get the idea. We know 122 grams of sodium nitrate will dissolve in exactly 100 grams of water. So to solve this, what we have to do is set up a proportion so that we know exactly how much will dissolve in 250 mils of water, or 250 grams. I should mention that water has a density of 1, so there's 1 gram in every mil. So that one, let's just call that grams. I probably should have put that there so it was less confusing. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up with an expression like this, and I'll show you how to go through the algebraic steps to solve it. Solving ratios is pretty straightforward. I always cross multiply. So I'm going to cross multiply those values. So that's what the expression should look like at this point. And we are going to divide both sides by 100 to get x alone. 100 will go away, and so we're left with the fact that x equals 122 times 250 divided by 100. So if I've done my math right, 305 grams of sodium nitrate will dissolve in 250 grams of water. And one of the things that is true of the solubility curve type calculations is that oftentimes you'll be asked about some other gram amount in, let's say, 250 grams of water. And it'll ask whether the solution is saturated or not. And so the way that you would use that curve is anything that is above that number, 305 grams, is going to be said to be saturated, right? Because you're trying to put too much solid in, and then anything under that 305 grams is going to be considered unsaturated. And then, of course, like right at 305 grams is just at that point of saturation. So that's just a way that you can kind of learn to play around with these solubility curves. There are things that appear occasionally that might confuse you that I've assigned, so make sure that you talk to me in office hours in case this thing wasn't enough to answer all the questions.